So our first speaker is a joint presentation between Hitesh and Chotrelle, and they from lecturers from the same faculty, human biology, and they teach first year students. And the title is on the use of e-learning as a platform for formative assessments. Okay, so welcome Hitesh and Chotrelle.
Good morning, everybody. I don't like using mics. So, can everybody hear me? Is it fine?
Yes.
Right, awesome. So, we're talking about, as mentioned earlier by our earlier speakers, the fourth industrial revolution. Interestingly, as an anatomist, so that's my background, one of the things we're learning, we're seeing at the moment is there's a deformity in the baby finger, especially the middle and the last phalanx, or the last two bones. Why? Because how many of our students are doing that? Right? So this is an important topic because there's lots of things where our students are focused on their screens, and we're going to see it in our venues. So we, as in human biology, is a core subject for nursing. They do it in first and second years, right? It's, as you would all imagine, your primary health caregiver in a hospital setting, in a clinic, for our kids, is the nurse, right? So let me give you some background first as we go through this. So for those of you who are not familiar, the assessment cycle works as in, we have teaching and learning, we conduct a formative assessment where we gather the evidence in terms of how well they are doing. We record the results, they analyze them, and then we give them feedback, right? So when did we as hub lecturers decide to take this forward, right? So, sorry, before just about this, the formative assessment bit, how many of us see Mr. Bean throughout the year? The whole year. The whole year. And you see them in lectures, they start all excited and they come together the night before the exam, and you see them in the venues. Red eyes, widely open. And if you're fortunate enough, you might see some of them falling asleep during the exam, right? Which does happen. So the universities, in the university calendar, right, we have to do both formative and your summative assessments, right? The formative assessment depends on the course coordinators. As a reminder, the course coordinators are allowed freedom in choosing the values of or the weighting of each assessment. All right. So this is ours. In Hub, I'm just going to move aside so everybody can see. In Hub, we have the CAM mark, which is 50%. We have the final exam mark, which consists of 50%. We have 4 theory tests, which are 1.5 hours each. We have 2 practical tests, which are 1 hour each. And the final exam papers is 2 papers, that's 1.5 hours. So that's the background. That's what we are doing. That's what makes up our marks. Right. So where did this come in, this timeline? Who wants to forget that? 2015, 2016, fees must fall. I think if there's any academic who is involved in teaching, that year we woke up considerably. Those 2 years made us very aware that face-to-face teaching is going to become something that's, what's the word? A luxury. If you think about it, it's meant to be the norm. But we had fees must fall, we had ESCOM disruptions, and all of us. We've been lecturing in the middle of our lecture, boom, the lights go. What do you do? Especially since all of us nowadays are dependent on these things here that require electricity. The projectors, the PCs. By the time the generators kick in, by the time we restart everything, and by the way, in all the venues, I don't think any of the AVS systems are on the backup generators. Not to my knowledge. So which means what? The system goes down, you can't continue teaching. So we then decided, how do we approach this? That's when we decided to implement the online touch tests. All right? The online touch test were meant to be put in purely as an intervention to fees must fall and disruption in the academic program. But then we found out that that actually ended up becoming an academic intervention. It went from a framework or a structural intervention to an academic intervention, right? And now it's become part of the hub assessment framework. So what did we do? We took the last test, which made up 1/4 of the theory tests, and converted them to 10 online tutorial tests. We took the first practical test and converted it to an online theory of prac. Our tests, both the practical tests and the online theory of prac, are randomized multiple choice questions with no negative marking. So we set up a pool of questions, and when the students enter the platform and they enter the test, no two students would write the same test at the same time. Right? Now here, these are just some examples. This is just the data of what we've pulled out from the average mark per test. The blue is 2017, the red 2018, and the green 2019, going from theory test 1, theory test 2, theory test 3, theory test 4, which is now the online test, the prac test, and the last practical test, which is the written test. I mean, I think all of us can clearly see, without having to do any fancy stats on them, there's an upward trend, which means that the value of the online TUT tests and the value of using the online platform is more important, or it's becoming more important, I should say, right? Because it's adding benefit to the students in terms of their abilities to address their questions during the test itself. Here, we notice that the average mark, these are the TUT tests, from TUT test 1 to TUT test 10, look at their marks, right? So generally, based on this, one can say that the students tend to perform better on the individual tutorial tests, right, versus the theory tests that we give them in total, right? Again, what this comes down to again, smaller volumes of work. They get to interact directly with the work itself. There's a lot of retention, not just retention. In anatomy, a lot of people think anatomy and physiology is remember, remember, remember. It's not swatting, it's concepts, right? By interacting it at this level, with smaller volumes, they're able to understand the concepts better. So quickly, I think I'm going right. So what are our reflections from from what we've done? Right. Most importantly, I think I think the big one we come out here is that students, the number of students that are negatively affected by sitting for a test is decreased. Meaning that students are writing their test, and my colleague will explain to you why we've noticed that. Why are the students performing better, and why are the fewer students being negatively affected by it? We found students that have a language barrier are better because they have an opportunity to read the work, right? The one thing we did find though is that students don't take the individual TUT tests, not as collection, but the individual TUT tests as seriously, as demonstrated by these two excerpts given to us by our students. The first one reads, "I made a mistake. I would like to check if it's possible for me to get any help. I thought I wrote my TUT test, but due to a lot of things happening this week, it completely slipped my mind." Now, if they place the same value on the individual TUT test as they did as a normal test, that would never be the situation. The last one, the second one. "Sir, I missed my practical test 1, and the prac test being an important test because it adds to the camera, due to a misunderstanding of dates. I was afraid to voice out through an email because I saw it very early that I missed the test and made me feel like a grade R student. I'm not proud of that. Please advise me further." Again, yes, there's the emotional aspect to it, but dates, which are clearly published in our module organizers, and we are published on iCanva repetitively, right? I'm now going to hand over to my colleague who's going to give the students' perspective.
Open-ended test questions. The first one was, do you prefer the online test? Yes or no? We have a collective of students that participated was 195. Out of the 195, 188 said yes to it. And from that, the repetitive answers, we combined the common trends. As you can see, indicated that they can do it whenever they want to. It's accessible everywhere, wherever, and they do not need to write tests in the evening. Then looking at the psychological and environment, it's less stress, they don't feel anxious, and then also they have adequate time to study because we give them a week to study, so they study a week for approximately only 2 lectures that they are questioned on for the test. Then also, they say that it encouraged them to work in groups. Student indicated English is not their first language, and some of them indicated that they have writing skill problems as well, so it assists with that. Some indicated that it improved their computer skills. And then, collaboratively, a lot of students thought how it improved their marks, because they said that decreased amount of workload, they have more time to study, they can use open book tests, and they can use a lot of other tools such as Google to assist them. The students that said no was only 3.5%, so 7 out of the 195 indicated no. And the reason why is they felt that the students, some of their peers are not taking it seriously, but also they feel that they're cheating due to the fact of working in groups and making use of tools. So in conclusion, we can actually say that using online as a formative assessment at the end of the day, as Hitesh indicated earlier on, there's a lot of positives for the lecturer or the facilitator, where the negative is addressed by means of the graduate attributes, and looking at the formative assessment for the student as such, you can see that at the end of the day it's multifaceted and it's interdependent, because they can make use of Maslow's hierarchy. Their basic needs are seen to, psychological needs are seen to, but also the e-learning tool is used as a tool for those students with barriers to learning, and also it promotes graduate attributes, and it aligns well with Beaks's theories in saying it's more about, at the end of the day, what the student is doing in going about learning. So in conclusion, we would say that in total, as the sit-down assessment can be a diverse assessment, so as well your e-learning platform could be used as a diverse assessment. But not only that, in giving feedback to the student, you can track the progress immediately, and because we also have face-to-face, we can then address the problem at hand for the student.